All right, let's see here. It is, what day is it? The 24th, February 24th, 2025. Let's see. This past week, uh, and hey, so hi. So I'm just
Emil.
sort of starting the video, like starting from scratch. So last week I was focused on working with my client. Let me talk about that first, then we'll talk about LangGraph.
Okay.
So we sent out emails. So I'm automating the email portion of their marketing processes, and so I'm not moving as fast as they would like me to. So they're like, "Oh, we're getting frustrated," but I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." But I mean, I work full time, and you guys are only paying a subscription of like $100 a month, so you guys need to relax. Um, so in terms of like developing the product, I'm still developing it, but I want to focus on craftsmanship. I don't want to just push out features that aren't valuable, so to speak, right?
Mm,
So
okay.
at this time, I don't know if I told you, but I have been meeting with the person that's going to be using the software, right? So we're finally able to meet like 8 months later.
Yeah.
I've been like fighting to get this because what you kind of have to do when you're developing a product is sort of sit with them and sit over their shoulder. You want to understand really like what are they missing in the current processes for how they're doing marketing, right? And
Mm,
what are some of the things that you can make more efficient, right? And
right.
their and have their experience of exploring other solutions as well, for different perspectives and integrate that into your product, you know?
Mm, right.
So, and that was so insightful. It's amazing. Like no-brainer things you would think, right? Meet with your client. It's like one of the concepts of the YC is to do things that don't scale. And as you
Exactly.
get,
Yeah.
higher, you get more clients, etc. You can't meet with everyone, but at least when starting out, you get like a really good feel on how to provide true value for the client. So um, I'm trying this method of satisfying their requirements for at first doing it like the what they call, I think, the sock puppet method.
Mm,
So I do the automation on their behalf, right? So
yeah.
it's the same effect, right? Although the application is not ready yet, right? I'm still able to get them to their goal because I'm doing the work and the client isn't, you know? So I'm at the same time I'm making progress, and I'm considerably doing it a lot more efficiently than they would be doing it if they were doing it themselves and
Right.
faster. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. So that way they're happy. And as well as the other bright side is that I'm able to do the process for myself. And because I'm able to do that, I can see it from more of a technical perspective in terms of improvements in the software than they would
Mm,
be able to if they did it themselves, right?
right. Yeah.
Because there's terminology that we know and we have the language for that they don't, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, so that was very insightful. So we met. I've been meeting with her for like at least once a week for the last 2 weeks. I'll probably meet with her again this week. Then we'll go over the results. And that's going to be really interesting because we'll be able to tell, well, what are truly the insights that she needs, right? When you talk to like a client and they tell you what they need, honestly, that's not what they truly need, right? It's like what they think they need or what would be
Yeah.
cool. So what I've learned is what can happen. You can spend like all of your time chasing your tail and developing futures that they say are of high importance, but like they don't honestly do anything with them, or
It's
like
not
you can
like what they
obviously tell.
actually need.
Yeah, it's not what they actually need. It's like going out to have dinner and all you get is, I don't know, a couple of crackers. It's like that's what I wanted to eat. I'm hungry, but from their perspective, but then you have to introduce them to the rest of the menu, the meat and potatoes, if that makes sense. So that's kind of like one of the problems that we've been able to solve by having that open communication channel and what they say, doing things that scale, quote unquote. I mean
Right.
that
Yeah.
that don't scale. Excuse me, doing things that don't scale. That's what you want to do. So yeah, it's cool. So getting back into LangGraph, so I do have my agent. So my current vertical agent, redeveloping. I think I may have told you that. I'm not sure, but um, the idea is to sort of break up the components within the initial vertical agent and instead of having one AI assistant using the Open AI Assistant API. The concept is to break those into smaller sort of tool sets, you can say, which are ingrained within a particular agent. So there's
Mm.
a concept of the email um, design modification agent, which will
Yeah.
be potentially probably like a fine-tuned AI agent system. Then you have the concept of the send email agent, right, which is another sort of fine-tuned system with specific tools. And then I was thinking you have like the data analysis engine that sort of takes a look at your long-term memory and your message history and your preferences, and based upon that and your the data from your email sending effectiveness, right,
Great. Yeah.
and tunnel absorption or whatever they call it. Based upon that, it'll give you insights, like things you could potentially do better, you know.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
the good, which is sort of like getting into like the idea why we're doing this thing, like from your perspective with the data, that's sort of like a very important thing, because if we have the data engineering aspect of understanding how to get insights from our data, it'll make our process a lot easier, right? So when we start talking about tabular data that we're getting back, we need to be able to do the data engineering and get the insights and be able to eventually automate that data pipeline so that we can move forward, so that our LLMs and potentially models, right, custom models that we develop, that's
Hmm.
where we're going with this.
Yeah.
So we can be 100% in comparison to now, we can increase the magnitude of accuracy, right?
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
so that was the second thing. The third thing is that my sort of new way that I feel like no one's thinking about with regard to making LLMs accurate. Um, so there's this sort of graph that can illustrate, well, the intersection of autonomy versus reliability. So as autonomy increases, reliability typically goes way down.
Mm.
So the concept of lane graph is supposed that we're supposed to sort of bridge that gap a little more, but I feel like that's not even enough. And I feel like the reason why that's not enough is because um, it's sort of rigid, right? Like there's so much rigidity that goes into building multi-agent systems. And I realized, well, if we have LLMs, why can't we structure the agent ecosystem to have like the supervisor, right, which is sort of like the controller, just structure the path for which it's going to take, you know, and then have it
I,
processed down. Hmm?
I think that's a good way to like structure. I think that's yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like we don't necessarily have to do all these steps. It's like, why can't I just focus on my vertical agent and that's it, you know? So
Hmm.
that's the concept. Like I'm trying to solve that problem, and I feel like I have a really good solution. And I think LangGraph is going to help me accelerate that a lot, because they have like built-in observability for logging and things like that, and explainability. And they have LangGraph Studio, things of that nature, so you can visualize your agents as well. So I feel like because of that, so I've been working really hard on adding that to my tool set, mastering that the last
Hmm.
few days. I feel like I have the concepts down, but like what they call it, Bloom's taxonomy, sort of like, which is the theory, like there's different layers of learning, right? I'm sort of like at the understanding the concepts layer. I'm quickly going to just boost into just applying, because that's the way that I learn. So I can
Hmm.
just master that tool set, rewrite my vertical agent, splitting it out, and then sort of also along the way capture all this data of me doing it and putting it into paper so that people can understand thoroughly what I'm doing. So that's what's going on. I know that's a lot, but that's what I've been working on. I've
So
been
it's
working
like
really hard at that.
it's pretty interesting. I mean, I'm looking at the website right now, and
Yeah,
yeah, and it's pretty cool. And
thanks.
it looks like there's like Lang chain and Lang graph as
Yeah.
well.
Hmm.
And LangChain is like the kind of like more, it's like a UI interface, right? To
Yeah.
like organize the agents and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, you could say that. Yeah. So the funny thing about LangGraph is that you don't have to actually. I don't really need to share now. I stop presenting. You don't actually have to use LangChain when you use LangGraph, which is beautiful. And the reason why I say that is because some of these frameworks, I feel like they can like have too much, like they throw in the kitchen sink, right? And honestly,
Right.
I don't really need that. I have sort of like my own sort of abstraction layer to make my open AI assistant
Mm-hmm.
less complex. So I'm gonna test it out and see. But of course, it'll be like A/B testing. I'll do one using LangChain, one agent, right? Foundational
Mm-hmm.
agent. Then I'll do one probably using my process. But I'm thinking that my sort of class that I built is going to be a lot easier for people to implement and use.
Mm-hmm.
The downside is probably the observability because they do that pretty well, but I'll see how I can work that in as well. So we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a lot, I know. But any questions, comments, or concerns with that? What do you think about where I'm
Um,
going with this?
I mean, I think this is um like line graph and line chain. I think it's like really cool. Like a different way of looking at it. Cause I didn't even know this even like this existed like prior to like I just didn't know like much about this, but it's like
Yeah,
really kind of expanded my view. It's really
good.
interesting.
I'm glad, and that's one of the, the reasons why you're here, exposure, to so you can
Right.
understand all this. These are new emerging technologies, right? LangChain and LangGraph, they're not the only ones. We have AutoGen, we have I think there's Crew AI. Let's see, what else is there? There's a couple others. I'm sure you can Google it, but those are the ones that just come to the top of my head.